For those of you listening today, simply for the fact that we are giving away train tickets for July 27th, that's Thursday night. Good news, we haven't given them away today. We will this hour. We promise you, all you train fans, drops of Jupiter coming your way here in a little bit, Prater. We have our video cameras on in the rowpaint.com studio, so this is our segment airing on our social media channels, our YouTube channel. By the way, next time you're on YouTube, type in KTIK, like our channel or subscribe to our channel. You'll be like the 56th, 62nd person that does so.
We have 288.
I thought we were at 17 or something like that. So,
we should treat that a little better, but we're getting there, right? We're getting there. Well, we're trying. Okay. Prater.
Yes, sir.
NFL camps.
Yes, sir.
I believe like 30 of the 32 teams have reported. It's getting close up there.
Yes, sir.
By this time tomorrow, I think just about every team will have reported. So we're examining the Boise State rosters. NFL rosters are 90 players big now, right? 90 dudes on each team. That'll get down to 53 plus, 10 to 12 practice squad players at the end of August. But until then, 20 Boise State alums are on NFL rosters right now, 20, 9 of which are on the defensive side of the ball. But crazy, when you break down the 9, there's only 2 that you can look at and to say, hey, they're absolute shoo-ins to make the team. I feel really good about a couple more because they were just recently drafted. But just because you're drafted doesn't mean you'll make the team. Prater, there could be 7 of these 9 right now every day. They're fighting for their professional football NFL career.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is, the 2 Dallas Cowboys, DeMarcus Lawrence, Leighton Vander Esch, they report to camp tomorrow in Oxnard, California, and they're the only starters on this list. The other 7, as you said, are all kind of in the gray area. Now, and I know what you were saying. There's no doubt Scott Matlock and JL Skinner are going to make the team.
You'd think so.
They're going to make the team. Whether they make the 53-man roster right off the bat, we'll see how that plays out in fall camp. Anything is possible in the NFL. And here at Boise State, we've come to expect anything when it comes to Boise State players in the NFL. So there's definitely going to be 2 that make the team, and Lawrence and Leighton Vander Esch, or 4 if you include Matlock and Skinner. They may be practice squad guys. The other ones, Curtis Weaver, David Moa, Caleb Biggers, Tyreek Jones, and George Tarlis. There are 5 of them right now that I think, ball game. It's going to need to be a big monster month for those 5 to make this team, even the roster. And I cannot wait to see how it plays out because we like all 5 of these guys.
Yeah, and preseason football, I mean, heck yeah, if you're a Boise State fan and you root for these guys, you don't really have an NFL team. You just root for your ex-Broncos currently in the NFL, Prater. I see a lot of snaps coming for some of the names that you just mentioned in preseason. And also remember, there's 3 preseason games now, not 4.
Oh, that's right.
So that even puts it more pressing, more pressure on guys like George Tarlis, guys like Caleb Biggers, Tyreek Jones, who are all undrafted players. And as you know, following the sport, covering the sport, when you're an undrafted free agent, you're essentially a camp body. They will roll you around and beat the hell out of you. But that's also, hey, a good way to make the team. Almost half the league is undrafted. It's like 41% of the players on rosters are undrafted. The NFL loves cheap labor. If you can prove to them, George Tarlis, Tyreek Jones, Caleb Biggers, that you can play at that level and you don't cost an arm and a leg, you'll find a job in the NFL. But I can't imagine what's going through those guys' head each and every day when they put that football helmet on, when they go back to their dorm room or hotel room or wherever they're staying and study all night and to be a part of the NFL. And you just want to grab it and you never want to let it go. And there's going to be a lot of dreams. Sadly, the NFL will tell you, sports tell you, it might be at age 40, it might be at age 15, that you can or cannot play this game anymore. And hopefully for those guys, those ex-Broncos, Prater, they just want to hold on to this professional dream of playing in the NFL as long as they can.
Curtis Weaver's never really gotten the shot, but he's been hanging on. So you kind of have to root for him to hang on a little bit more to see if he can get some traction with the Vikings. Right now, though, if you look at the depth charts, I even worry about preseason with Curtis Weaver. He's listed at 4th string. There was one depth chart that didn't even list him at all. So I think Curtis Weaver is really, really deep on the depth chart. David Moa with the Chargers, I think, is going to exactly what you just said. He's one of those players that's going to get a massive amount of reps in fall camp, and certainly in some of these exhibition games. He's a little bit higher on the depth chart, and looks like he could play. A one depth chart. Our lads has a depth chart of putting him on the outside, and ESPN puts him on the inside. So as long as he can be flexible and find a spot somewhere along that defensive line, that's great. Scott Matlock, he's going to get a ton of reps. Skinner is going to get a ton of reps. Now, with Skinner, keep an eye out for him. He has been cleared. He's not on the PUP list in terms of the physically unable to perform list. He was clear to that yesterday.
Yes.
So he can get out there and play. We all know he had that pec injury that really got in his way in the springtime. But I would imagine he's not going to be 100%, that they're going to be careful. If you don't see any headlines or he doesn't play in that first game, I wouldn't panic. I think the coaches are just being careful, but certainly JL Skinner wants to get some reps. Biggers, Jones, and Tarlis. Biggers is going to probably be a third or fourth cornerback option. I think he's going to get some reps. Tyree Jones should get some reps at safety. And George Tarlis, God bless him, I think he might just be happy to be there. Now, that's not how he feels, but the Raiders and their defensive end situation, George Tarlis probably doesn't figure in too heavily.
I think for an undrafted free agent, I mean, hell yeah, you want to make the 53, but just stay in the league. Just put me on a practice squad. Let's go. And GMs, Prater, they don't like cutting players that they drafted. I think they take that as kind of a slap in the face because then they missed. No one to blame but themselves. We picked this guy and he couldn't make our 53. He couldn't make our practice squad. I'm going to talk about Caleb Biggers for a second, because I think he might be a guy who can hang around camp a little bit in Cleveland. I was also talking about this with Kane Ione, who coached Caleb Biggers' position in college. Of course, he's the co-defensive coordinator, safeties coach, but spent a lot of time coaching the corners. And Kane Ione thinks that Caleb Biggers is one of those guys that's just nasty enough that teams are going to want to keep him around. And I look at the Cleveland corner situation. The only corner the Cleveland Browns drafted was a guy named Cam Mitchell. He's from Northwestern, but they drafted him in the 5th round. And they brought in Caleb Biggers and one other rookie free agent corner. So there are 3 rookie corners in Cleveland Browns camp right now. One of them was drafted, and they were drafted in the 5th round. So maybe if Cleveland goes in the direction where, hey, we want to keep a rookie corner and Caleb Biggers is just better than the dude from Northwestern, maybe he has a shot. I look at the Raiders, I look at their depth chart, and I try to play the same game with George Tarlis, and I hope I'm wrong on this, but I don't see the spot for George Tarlis in Vegas now. However, guys get hurt all the damn time. Guys get placed on the PUP list all the damn time this time of years. And if you're George Tarlis, you just want to find a way to somehow keep on grinding, even if it is on the practice squad. But I think it's going to be tough for George Tarlis to even make the Raiders practice squad. Prater. We'll see about Tyreek Jones in Tennessee too.
Yeah, Tyreek Jones in Tennessee. I think he's got a decent shot. I was a big fan of him. I might be biased. Biggers, we talked to Cutter about that to extend your conversation a little bit farther. Cutter, an NFL guy, said that Caleb Biggers was Boise State's best cornerback last year, and I think he was looking at it through his NFL glasses. So there is certainly something there with Caleb Biggers, and let's hope that he can stick there. I was just looking here on the website. I forgot the one thing I forgot to look up, because we know that they extended the practice squads to, I believe, 16 during COVID. I don't know if they're ever going to go back. Usually when the NFL makes a rule like that, they don't go back. So maybe the extended practice squads is going to be great for them. But I don't know if 2023 is going to be 16 practice squad guys again. That kind of a big number is going to help the Tyreek Joneses and the Caleb Biggers and the David Moas, if you ask me, maybe even the Curtis Weavers. Again, I'm not sure how much that might help George Tarlis. I hope George Tarlis surprises us and just goes out there and is a beast, but not a lot of hope there. But maybe if that 16-man practice squad is still existing.
It is.
That's 16
I think
this year?
16. I mean, it was last year.
Well, I know it was last year. I'm asking for what it is this year, Mr. I think.
Yeah.
What is it, Mr. NFL rules guy?
It's 16.
You know that for a fact,
no.
Or you think?
I'm pretty damn sure. Can we just I don't know why they would have switched it back.
Well, they only switched it because of COVID. And eventually I thought that they would switch back, but maybe they won't. And maybe it still is a 16. We'll get that figured out. But, it's going to be a scary, scary month for 3 or 4 of these Boise State defensive guys. And as we said at the top of the show, 11 Boise State players in the NFL on offense. I think all 11 of them have a chance to make leagues or make rosters this year.
You know, I'm really keeping an eye. You mentioned on Curtis Weaver. He's 25 now. He left early, so he had that extra year. But I mean, he's got 1 career tackle. I mean, he just signed with the Vikings in January. Curtis Weaver did. So he's going to try to make their camp, and they had a disgusting defense last year in Minnesota, especially for a team that won that many games. Maybe somehow, some way, Curtis Weaver can find a home in the NFL. If not, I think Curtis Weaver is running out of tryouts. I think he's running out of time. David Moa is 27 years old, so he's flat out absolutely running out of time on his NFL clock. Prater. Tyreek Jones is interesting in Tennessee because the Titans, they didn't draft a single defensive back. Not one. They didn't draft one. And in camp, they invited 7 defensive backs as undrafted rookie free agents, non-lumping safeties and corners together because, heck, Tyreek Jones played the nickel last year. And the nickel at Boise State, they ask you to do a lot of inside coverage. You have to cover to play nickel here at Boise. And obviously we know Tyreek Jones's exploits at safety. He was a starting safety on this team for multiple years. And then they moved him last year to the nickel. So Tyreek Jones, that versatility might help in Tennessee. And there's no bonus babies in the room. You know, I think that helps when you have the guy who was drafted. He can have a crappy camp and you know he's still making the team because the GMs and the coaches want to prove how right they are on this. It's tough to draft. You know, I remember, Dirk Cutter had to cut Jeremy McNichols. They drafted Jeremy McNichols. Dirk Cutter stood on the table for our boy J-Mac. And in Tampa Bay, Jeremy McNichols was a drafted player that didn't make the team, which is really rare in that case. So maybe that will be different here with Tyreek Jones. I hope so, but hell yeah. All these guys playing, these preseason games are going to be coming in a couple of weeks. And man, if there's 20 Boise State alums on NFL teams right now, Prater, chances are a lot of those games that are going to be airing all over the place for NFL preseason, you're going to have a Boise State connection in there. And when it comes to defense, outside of Tank and LVE, these dudes are going to be playing in preseason. Scott Matlock, I would imagine, gets a lot of run in preseason.
Absolutely. And Skinner, if he's healthy, too.
Yes.
But Scott Matlock probably will be the busiest Boise State defensive guy in the NFL in the month of August, no doubt about it.
You know, we'll talk about offense later, but just a quick little synopsis on this because it could not be more opposite, Prater. We're mentioning 9 Boise State defensive players, 7 of them, that have a lot to prove in this league just to stay in the league. Offensively, kind of not so much.
I just said that.
I
just said that.
Yeah, but we'll expand on that a little bit later. Yeah,
definitely.
Did you see? I was reading about the new news. You see the breaking news in the NFL there?
No, what is it?
Yeah, a big time contract for a quarterback
Ooh.
That's coached by one of our guys.
What?
Man,
Ooh,
yes,
nice.
Mega deal coming up. Prater in the ball game. KTIK the ticket.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios, this is Ticket Traffic.